Hi, welcome. I am Susie Evans coming to you from Blomquist Hale and glad to have you join us today. We'd like to acknowledge all the HR professionals and leaders out there. It's our goal today to help deliver resources, ideas, solutions to support HR professionals and their organizations as together we navigate COVID-19. So just to reassure you, Blomquist Hill is open. We're here to help, and we're here to help with any life challenge. Everything is confidential. And during the COVID outbreak, we are available by Zoom sessions or telephone sessions. After the outbreak, we will move back to face-to-face and still offer video counseling options as well. We do have a 24/7 crisis line, which is very helpful, and a phone number listed here for anyone to distribute to your staff. So how can HR professionals deliver support at such a unique time? I do believe it comes first with understanding our HR role. Many of us perform different duties in our work environment, and sometimes it's a little bit unique. And you'll find that a lot of our leaders will be turning to HR folks to help them navigate through this time. Some of us as HR professionals have very large, well-tiered departments, and we have specialties, and others are just single HR professional generalists. So within our scope here, I'm hoping we can provide some information that will help any level of organization. And for some of us, we deliver lots of different services and wear multiple hats, such as accounting, management, customer service, administrative support, processing payroll, and sometimes we feel like our day is just spent putting out fires here and there. But one thing we have in common is balancing human capital. Another piece we have in common, many of us may not have ever experienced a pandemic of this nature. I truly believe that you have the ability to truly provide support, information, and guidance during this COVID-19 pandemic. There are many ways we can help. Today in this presentation, I'll provide many resources for you to share, both for your staff and education for yourselves. I think it's important that we lead and guide calmly. It's easy to get caught up in the frenzy and the anxiety that's going on. And it's important that we portray a sense of calmness as we try to help our businesses move forward. I think it's super important to ask really good questions with our leadership groups. And today we'll talk about that, and also here to provide lots of workplace stress solutions for you and your organization. And another key point is it's really important to stay in touch during this time with our leaders, employees, and communicate. Even though we're all working from home, I am in my daughter's room downstairs in the basement preparing this for you right now. But nonetheless, I think it's even more critical that we are attached with our leaders and our employees at this time. You and I are experiencing an information overload, and it can be overwhelming. We are getting information from the local news, from the internet, from CNN, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, podcasts, webinars, friends, neighbors. It's inundating. As we carefully navigate this, honestly, I think following reputable resources is very key. And that will help us keep our business leaders informed and united. But who do we listen to, and what's valid? We'll cover that here today. Some of my favorite groups to track. They're very accurate, they're very reputable, and many of you have already probably tapped into these resources, but just in case, the CDC is an excellent resource. The World Health Organization, Utah Department of Health, if you're based in Utah, Occupational Safety Health Administration, or better known to us as OSHA. I'd highly recommend following those groups for the most current information. And I'll share with you a few others that I found helpful, that I provided some links for you. The Society of Human Resource Management, if you don't already belong to this, I'm sharing with you some of their information today, but I provide the link so that you can access this group. There are also local SHRM chapters, as it's nicknamed SHRM, and they're all over. We have them in Utah. There's one in the northern end, there's one in the southern end, and a Salt Lake end. Great networking group. They gather once a month. It can be very, very helpful. Also, the Utah Employers Council is a very high-end, reputable resource, and they actually have many attorneys on staff and can provide very accurate information for us also. And this may seem a little odd, but the Department of Workforce Services can also be very helpful through times like this. And if you're aligned with a benefit broker for your company, they also frequently have HR experts on staff that might be a free resource for you. Or certainly if your organization has access to legal counsel, they also could be a great resource. Extending this information, Governor Herbert of Utah I provided his link for you. He has constantly been updating us on new movement, new bills, new recommendations to keep our community safe. Intermountain Healthcare, also a very solid group who is actively conducting testing around the state. And also there's a link there for the CDC that might be handy. A little bit more on the Society for Human Resources. They are a professional membership group located in Alexandria, Virginia, and they promote the role of HR professionals and provide education, certification, and networking to the members, while they lobby Congress issues pertaining to labor management. They do require an annual fee. It is fairly small. And for those who have a single resource HR office or a small budget to work from, this organization can be very helpful and is worth the small fee that's annual. They have knowledge partners, they have templates, they have a very robust website, and might be helpful for you. On this next slide, I just provide for you some different links to SHRM related to COVID. And there's also a couple different phone numbers listed. Hopefully, if you need to reach out, that gives you a little more detail. So as leaders, what can we do? We can strategize. We can really get in with our CEOs, with our COOs, with our key leaders in our companies, and really sit down and have good conversation. And many of you probably already have done this. But how do we protect our employees? How do we position and protect our business? What about business forecasting and planning? Need to talk about staffing, our options. And then, this was surprising as I started digging in on this, the ADA, FMLA, OSHA, the World Health Organization, and the state all have compliance issues related to COVID-19 and some very interesting criteria. So it's good for us to become familiar with that and educated. If your business has a board of directors, it would be a great idea to align and visit and have a meeting with them and hear their expectations, communicate goals, and keep updating as issues progress. I think that's very key also, and they're going to be looking to you for that guidance. So many of you probably have had somebody test positive for COVID. Here is an outline provided by the CDC. I also provided the number for the IHC health line. They will do a phone evaluation, and if the person demonstrates all the symptoms, they will give them further instruction, and they can do the drive-through testing. As I understand, the tests are very limited, so if the client doesn't fulfill all 4 areas, the fever and the difficulty in breathing, the sore throat, and I believe there's one other symptom, then they can't get tested. So it's kind of a little tricky to navigate, but there is a number that you can provide to your employees there. Then what do we do in the office if Sally or Johnny just tested positive? We thoroughly clean the area where the employee works and notify other leaders what has occurred. And number 5, I have looked up and outlined the decontamination protocol given to us by the government, which can help as we disinfect, and hope to keep that to a minimum. More resources for you here. OSHA Guidelines for employers. There's a link here that very much safety related. They have some very clear directions for us. One interesting thing I learned, what if we want to talk about a coworker who has tested positive for the disease? Can we share their name? And according to the American with Disabilities Act, the ADA, it actually restricts employers from sharing their name. In a large organization, that may be easier than with a small organization. Obviously, we would know if it was who it is when it's a small group. Can we ask an employee if he or she has the coronavirus? Well, employers can ask how they're feeling in general, but they should not inquire about the specific illness, as it could rise to the level of a disability inquiry, which goes against the ADA. There's a little bit of eggshell work here for us to move through. So just sharing some of these findings with you to help you navigate that. Does FMLA apply to COVID? Yes, it does. And there's a little PDF attachment here that you can click on and get a little more detail. And will your business and individuals see tax relief as a result of COVID-19? Yes, and please check your qualifiers to see how that fits your organization or your individuals. And that link is provided on this same page here for you also. So in the news, we've heard President Trump and the Senate talking about this $2 trillion aid package. I provided the link in here for you, but there is quite a lot of detail involved with this. The Senate passed roughly a $2 trillion coronavirus response bill intended to speed relief across the American economy. It's meant to keep businesses and the economy afloat. We have cash payments going out to individuals, single, married, and children. And there is very specific criteria involved. This bill has provided extra unemployment benefits, and it also has some specific requirements that you might want to take a look at. 3.3 million has been added to the unemployment claims, which is actually shattering records. They've never put that much into the unemployment claims budget. Tax returns have had an extended deadline through July 19th. There are student loans and insurance coverage bills. And I'll back up on the insurance coverage bill. It requires all private insurance companies to provide free testing for the virus. For small businesses, this is kind of unique. The bill provides $10 billion for grants for emergency funds to small businesses. And that is meant to cover immediate operational costs. There are also written into this bill forgivable loans and relief for existing loans. The bill establishes a fully refundable tax credit for businesses of all sizes that are closed or distressed to help them keep workers on the payroll. The goal is to get the employees hired back or put on a paid furlough so that they have jobs to come back to after the virus has completed its course. There are veteran health care bills, telehealth bills, medicine and supply budgets that have been designated through this Senate presentation. Also, food stamps, they have put in $15.5 billion into the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. $450 million have been put into food banks. Also, $5 billion for community development block grants, which impact our schools. So there are many things, and I think this is pretty liquid. I have been watching this quite closely. So I would encourage you to just stay on top of this and become more familiar with finding what might help you in your specific companies. So this is kind of a cool little link here. It's an HR toolkit. Oftentimes we're so busy we don't have time to create templates and memos and things from scratch. This site here, hrservice.com, is a little toolkit that has telecommuting sample agreements. You just plug in your company name, makes it pretty simple. There's a business disaster loan information segment. And also, if your company is looking at reduction of force, there is some additional information at this website that may be helpful for you. All right, the topic that keeps a lot of us HR folks awake at night. I surely hope your organization isn't in this position, but it might be. Downsizing is not a fun topic for any of us. But yes, there are options. It isn't always black and white. Each option has a pro and con. I'd encourage you to research the differences between a furlough and a layoff and a reduction of force. They all have a little bit different implications. What I like about them is that it allows you flexibility. It allows you flexibility to look at what is offered and what best matches your organizational needs. So the flexibility there is pretty key. And there is a little note at the bottom of this slide that gives you a nice RIF strategy and selection checklist that allows you to ask the right questions and come up with solutions. So this is a great example of what you never put on a PowerPoint. So I apologize. Was unable just to get the link for this. However, I put it on here because many people will say, well, what's the difference between a furlough, a layoff, and a reduction of force? And this outlines that carefully and clearly so that you can be equipped to answer those questions. Another example of too much detail on a page, but these are important issues to consider if you are looking for furloughs or terminating employees, and how that impacts benefits. It asks some very good questions for us to consider as we make those business decisions together with our organizations. Go back here. On this slide, there is an attachment. Again, it's the little reduction of force checklist. This again is pretty helpful. I think it's about 3 or 4 pages of some very good questions that help us to evaluate what is right for our group. So what is this Family First bill? Many of you have already been probably addressing this or taking a look at it. On March 18th, President Trump signed this into law, and it's quite interesting. I'm going to get to the little detail here for you, and it is very much worth looking into, and it is providing paid leave mandated for employers to pay our employees who are either caring for or have the COVID virus. See if I have a little additional information here. The provisions take effect April 1st and expire December 31st. So you see that that's a pretty lengthy amount of time. And as long as employers are making a good faith compliance effort, we are able to utilize this bill. Here is a great Q&A website. I loved it. I went through it, and we probably will all ask these questions. So please copy and paste this into your browser and go through the Q&As. Very common questions and very, very helpful. The DOL answers questions on FLSA compliance during the corona pandemic. And we all wonder, how are we going to pay? What are we expected to pay? What does payroll look like? And who is to be receiving this pay? There are a lot of individual criteria that I would encourage you to get on and just become familiar with. It is very unique and will impact our payroll processing efforts. Sharing a couple of things for you to administer if you're working from home as well. Here's a couple nice webinars that you can send out to your staff as we are trying to keep our workforce calm and moving forward. Self-care is really important during stressful times. And also for those of us who have children at home or grandchildren at home, parenting in a pandemic is a great resource that we have prepared to share with you as well. One thing I can share with you, we don't feel like we have a lot of control right now, right? The virus isn't something that any of us can truly have a lot of control over, other than we're trying to slow the travel of it. We do have control of our attitudes. It's a little thing that can make a big difference, and not every day is going to be good. There's a lot of challenges that come with us, both personally, professionally, for the employees that call us, that text us, that email us. But if we can find one good thing in every day, it will help us make it through together. If we focus on having a happy attitude, no matter what, we still have the same amount of work. But if we can just work on our mindset, I promise you it will help us make it through this experience together. So we just did want to say thank you. We are in this together as a community, as businesses, as HR professionals, and I certainly hope that some of these links and sites are helpful for you today, and you are more than welcome to reach out to us anytime if you have further questions or need further clarifications. But thank you again. I wish you all the best and good health, and take care.